Cool. So welcome back. Getting there. We're at the slow point of the day now. I've been in enough of these now to know that people start nodding and catching flies, and that's happened before. So what I'm going to try and do is, I've had a busy few weeks, so I'm going to try and get some of you guys to do some of this for me. Hopefully, we'll see. I just introduced myself on the last one. My name is Peter Egerton. I generally deal with anything to do with Config Manager, Windows 10, Intune, things. Obviously, Intune deals with phones, things like that as well. So hence, we have Android. So why the hell am I doing Android at a Windows Management User Group? A number of reasons. To see if I could possibly teach Michael Niehaus something is one of the reasons. Yeah, although he's going to trump me in a minute, I'm sure.
Pushing that border higher.
I'm grasping at straws, I know. Some of you might have seen this one before. This was one of the reasons that I'm doing it, Android. I'll let you watch it and just quieten down. This is basically market share of mobile operating systems from 1999 to kind of 20 years. And it's quite interesting. Windows. Yeah, I saw this before and I thought it's really interesting. So it's about a minute and a half long. I've sped it up a little. But this is one of the reasons why I'm doing a session on Android. And also, as I said, through my employer, through my day job, I've seen a big rush on Android jobs towards the back end of last year. Now look at Android jump. Okay? I mean, I will say this is not just enterprise, and there is a significant difference there, but this is mobile operating systems. And now look at Windows drop. Yeah, so this is not too far away, 5 years. And this is pretty accurate numbers. This goes right up to the end of last year. Am I the only person that's never heard of KaiOS? No? Anyone know what KaiOS is? I'm assuming it's a Chinese thing. Or... Yeah, Huawei? We've got a Huawei here. Okay. So I don't know if you caught that last bit. I'll just rewind it. No, I won't. It won't let me. Don't worry, I'll not make you sit through that again. So that little 0.01%, by the way, of Windows Mobile, I think that's just David James on his own. Yeah, I know there's one or two Windows Mobile users still around, but not very many. And I was a fan, I'll say. I've got a couple still hanging around in a cupboard somewhere. But yeah, Android, as you can see, market share is something like 85% of market share mobile operating systems. So everyone's got or used an Android. I'm interested in here. Who's an Android user predominantly? Okay, so that's probably just over half. iOS, probably a bit less. Anything else? Any Windows mobiles? You still got one? Has anyone got both? Yeah, I got both as well. Various reasons. So yeah, as you can see, Android is actually everywhere. From mobile phones, from cheap tablets for the kids, from ordering food at McDonald's, from checking in my hotel last night, a little Samsung sign up and give me spam email thing on the desk. They're everywhere, yeah? So Intune, this session is all about Intune, not Config Manager. You may or may not know, does manage Android devices and has done for quite a long time. And there's been some evolution in that, in correspondence with evolutions in Google, making differences in Android. So Google have not really been good on this for a long time. So that's why predominantly Android devices are consumer-based a lot of the time. But now you start to see them coming into the workplace, and certainly I see them coming into the workplace more, and the number one reasons I can give are they are cheap, very much so compared to iOS. And actually, now we're finding that we've got a decent management platform to use with Android Enterprise, okay? So I know there's been a few sessions at WMUG, and you might have seen a few other sessions. I've very explicitly ripped these sessions off of the Microsoft Ignite session last, just taken the highlights, and we're going to try and have a look, see what that looks like. Basically, there's two scenarios here. So as with any mobile device management, whether that's phone or tablet, you've got the personally owned and you've got the company owned, and that's how they kind of split out. A couple of solutions for each one here. If it's a personally owned, if your strategy, I guess, for MDM is let the user buy their own phone, or, well, give them an allowance, just like you make a car allowance, for example. There you go, choose what you want. A lot of organizations do that, choose what phone you want. So you've got a couple of options there, and we'll look at them just a moment. You've got App Manage. So this is basically take your phone out of the box. It's your regular phone. You may already have it. You've got all your junk apps on there, all your Facebooks and your Instagrams and your whatever, all your dating apps. That comes up quite a lot when you're doing phone migrations because people don't want to lose the dating apps, funnily enough. So yeah, what you can do is you can secure the application. So this is MAM, or MAM-WE, as the name's been bandied around. So this is mobile application management without enrollment, effectively. So you say, and we'll see it in a moment, if you want to use Outlook, if you want to use SharePoint, you want to use OneDrive, then that's fine. But we're going to containerize those applications, and you're going to authenticate when you come in, and we're going to check a few little conditions. But other than that, it's your phone, not your cell phone. Okay, so the other one that we've got is this thing called a work profile. Does anyone manage their Android devices in their business, by the way? Just a couple, which is great because I'm in the right room, because people might learn a little bit of something. We've got this thing called work profile, and I'll show you again in a moment. So the idea is that you have a section of your phone that is kind of containerized, and that deals with all your work stuff, and then you've got your personal, whatever you want, and none of the two shall mix, okay? So you can put rules in place so you can't drag data in and out, or you can if you like, but the idea is that you have a work profile, and you can also switch that on and off. So if I'm off for the weekend, I'm on holiday, vacation, no more notifications from work email, thank you very much. Okay, so that's a popular option, and this is part of Android Enterprise. So you'll see this one, and that one, they're Android Enterprise. This is really an Intune technology, and this is where Microsoft kind of win out on a lot of MDM solutions, I see, because they can offer that maybe some of the other vendors can't. Then you go to the other side, you've got company-owned. So I always like to see this as traditionally managing a PC. So traditionally, we all know this model, right? You get your PC, you join it into your domain, so it's now my computer, and then you put your policies on, and then you use SCCM or some other tool to put your applications on. So that's a company-branded machine, okay? So you own the thing top to bottom, you manage it top to bottom. That's fully managed. Same thing with a phone. For some reason, people don't see phones in the same way as PCs, but actually, you're doing the same kind of things, you're dealing with the same kind of data. So really, I think you probably should. But for company-owned, there's a couple of scenarios, and there is another that's not on there. You've got dedicated AEs, Android Enterprise, dedicated for, or in other words, kiosk. So these are the ones, your McDonald's, your signage, your checking in at hotels, all that kind of stuff. Single use or dedicated use, so you might have multiple apps, library PCs, all that kind of stuff. But also you'll find these a lot of use in things like warehouses and factories. So you can see that's a Zebra device on that image, so barcode scanners, all that kind of stuff. You may or may not have to deal with any of that. Predominantly in the work that I do, I deal with phones and tablets, so that's the end one, fully managed. And this is relatively new to Intune. It's been around from Google for a couple of years now. It was their most popular, certainly from an M&M perspective, I believe it was the most popular preview. I think it came in around February time last year, and the numbers escalated because you can use this technology and manage the phone top to bottom. So that became GA September time, and we were doing a job from about June, July, migrating 1,500 Android devices into fully managed, and it was in preview. And even though it was preview, the customer was more than happy to go with that. A few little niggles, as you might expect on preview, but since then we've seen, job after job going down that route. Okay, so those are the 4 scenarios. There is another one that's coming next. This is available maybe through some other vendors, not Intune, and it's certainly a Google scenario, but that is COPE. I don't really like these abbreviations, but you see them if you look up any Google management. It's basically fully managed with a work profile. So you're looking at the end one. So think about it, you still domain join, you're still joining it to your tenant, but I think the scenario for me is you just have loose management on it, a low level of management. So it's still hooked into you, but you just have fairly low level so people can add their own apps on maybe, and it's still a corporate phone, it's owned by the business, but I'm all right for my end users to use their Facebook account or the Twitter account or whatever, but then have a work profile on that, so you're kind of segregating the work from the personal still. So it's quite a popular scenario, but it's not there on Intune yet, and it is coming soon. So yeah, deployment options for Android, bring your own. The two that I've just covered, app protection and work profile, I'm not going to read all those out to you. Well, those are the kind of advantages, disadvantages, and it's pretty much what I've just said. So what I want to try and do is just show you what this looks like at the back end. So I'm not going to bore you with slides, and if time will allow me, I'm going to try and run through these scenarios. I'm going to try and do one of each. I'm not imagining I'm going to get to them all, but we'll try. But what I'm going to try and do is get you to do one of these, because I've done these before, and I want you guys to do one. Part of that reason is, I'm just tired. And part of that reason is, when you push these out to users, we often find people try and decide, can a user do this? When they're thinking about the migration, when I'm getting people from Mobile Iron to Intune, or from AirWatch or Workspace ONE to Intune, how much can I make the user do? Is it okay for them to do a fully managed? Because there's quite a few steps in there, as you'll see. Or is that too much? Do we need hand-holding for that? So if we've got any volunteers to do a very, very simple enrollment, all I'm going to get you to do really is enter a username and a password and just see if you can click the right buttons for me. Don't all jump at once. I'm going to look at Bobby because she's at the front. So what I've got here is, can we see this? No, we cannot see this. Try this. Got a little Android emulator. We see it? Okay. So what all I've got in there, do you want to try this, Bobby? Just got some demo accounts and a demo password. This is just a basic Android phone. Nothing really on it. I've attached my Google Play account. Are you an Android user, by the way? Do you know how to use Android? Some people just freeze because it's completely new. You can touch the screen. You can do the usual kind of stuff. What I've done is preloaded Company Portal on there. There's not a lot that you need to do. Company Portal needs to be there because it's a broker for some of these things. So for the apps to be used by application protection, you need this broker app. So that will do some of that. I've put on also Outlook, SharePoint, and Teams. If you want to try and fire Outlook up for me, I've not used Outlook on here, so if it works, then we're winning. Okay, so this is the experience from the user end. I've just set a vary light policy on there. Yeah, so we've got a user called Jane on my lab. So you can either touch it or use the mouse, whichever works for you. Then Jane's got to enter her password. Super secret. Hopefully this will work. Okay, so your account's added, so we've now got Outlook Mobile. We can skip that one, that's fine. I've not put a policy on so you can block personal accounts, but you can do that if you like. We'll skip that as well. We don't need focused. Does anyone like focused inbox? No, I'm not a fan either. Some people do. Okay, can you see the message now? So when you first sign into the application, you get this. The organisation is protecting this app. Usual kind of allow access to contacts and all that. So yeah, if you just want to allow all this. What you should find now is that the application should ask you to authenticate because that's the policy that I've set. Okay? So the policy that's set on this is I'm just protecting the application, but every time you come in, I want you to re-authenticate. Now, you might not be quite so cruel to your users. You may just make them put a pin in or use a thumbprint or something like that. But you've got that option. Okay? Simple as that. Thank you very much. A little round of applause for Bobby. And Bobby's not your average user, though. She's quite technical. So it's not really a true test. Okay, so that's that one. And the idea is that every time I come in and out of there, if I can remember how to use Android, get rid of that. You'll find the same if I do one of the others. So I've got SharePoint, Teams, and things like that in place. You see the message? Exactly the same. So then I'm in. Dead simple, really. Make sense? So it's still my phone, but for the corporate bit, I need to authenticate in some way, shape, or form. And I can show you the policy in a little while if we get the time, but I wanted to get the user experience across to you. I'm going to power that one off. And I have another little demo to set up. So we're going to look at work profile as well. Does anyone want to be my work profile demo? Gee, we are really sleepy today, aren't we? Someone, don't make me do work. Come on. Yes, thank you. So this is a work profile. Same kind of scenario. The device is just my personal device. I've got all my personal junk on there. What I've done is I've preloaded this with my company portal app. So I've just been to the Play Store, public Play Store under my own account, loaded the company portal app, and it's saying you need to sign in, okay? So when I sign in, if you see the user details on there, second one, that's it. So this user, Lucas, and this has got to be user-based, okay? Because when you're sending out these configuration policies, it's all based around the user, because you don't really know the device at that point, yeah? See if we can get a password right. And what we should see is that will sign in, and it should, if time allows us at least, I've got an after as well, a Blue Peter style after. It should create as a work profile, as you can see on the screen then. And this tells you everything that Intune's going to do to your phone or the organization. We will track you and see what you had for lunch and everything. It's not really. Okay, so you're about to create a work profile. So this is the user experience. So you've got to consider for yourself, can your users do this? For a lot of organizations, in my experience, for the work profile, yeah, they can do that. Maybe a little bit of a service desk call, but certainly you don't need someone sat there. And for the application management, application protection, no problem. Users can seem to do that one. So what it's doing, it's basically registering the device with Intune. Not a proper, ownership of that device, but oh, magic, yes. Something had to go wrong, didn't it? Okay, hopefully you get the idea, but my user has reached the end. So I've got too many devices. All right, that's great. Appreciate that, thank you. And what I'm going to do, though, is just spin up my Blue Peter style and just show you what that does look like.
Is that not also a pass because it's actually verified
Possibly. I'll answer you in a minute. Oh, there you go. So it's there. So you can see here, if I just move that down a little bit, because this marvelous screen catches us every time. There you go. So you can see we've got personal. So this is all my personal junk. There's nothing really on there. And then if I hit the work tab, this is my work profile. And then I've just mandated things like company portal, files, Play Store. And because this has only just been provisioned, the apps will start coming down. So I can push those apps with a managed Google Play account, dead easy and free to set up. Okay, so they should come down, and you'll see on the other phone. If I just show you very quickly on there, I've just got a few more apps, that's all it is. Yeah? So the one on the right is after, that's what the one on the left will end up looking like. And you note there, I'm going on holiday, do not ring me, do not send me emails. If you do, I'm not going to read them. There's a work profile turned off, so nothing coming through from work. We are winning. Okay? So that's your work profile scenario. Make sense? Yeah? You see the difference? It's just a slightly more structured way. The second one there, work profile, is part of Android Enterprise. Just to reiterate, the first one is really just an Intune technology. It's not a kind of Android or Google technology. Yeah? Cool. What else have we got? Fully managed. How are we doing for time? Okay, we'll get there. So fully managed is another option as we discussed. The screens that you see there, hopefully we'll be able to reproduce these in just a moment. This is where live demos go wrong, you see. I'll show you the back end and the front as well. As I said before, you own it top to bottom or bottom to top. You're basically making a join to your Intune tenant. You're applying the policies, you're applying the apps. Now, you may or may not allow them to put their own Google account on there. You may or may not allow them to have their own personal mail on there. It's up to you, just like you would with a group policy or an Intune policy on a laptop or a desktop. Okay? So what I'm going to try and do, I'll just show you how this works at the back end because there's a little difference. Are we in there? The way this works, there's different ways of enrolling devices, and I'll try and show you on here at the moment if my gadgetry works. If we go into Intune or the Endpoint Manager Admin Center, which we all use, DMAC portal, I'm getting there with this because it's kind of a bit of this and a bit of that, and it's all kind of mushed together, but I'm getting there with it. We're all winning. If I go into Enroll Devices, you'll see an Android enrollment. You see my options. I'm not going to show you the Manage Google Play. It's dead simple to do. Work Profile is the one I just showed you. If you go in there, nothing really to do. You just need to create a policy, deploy it to a group of users. Okay? Nothing special. With Fully Managed, a little bit different. There's a few ways of enrolling this. Certainly with Intune, I've played around with QR code scanning and NFC tags, okay? If you don't know what NFC tags are, think like Oyster card or something like that, yeah? You just tap it and there you go. There's got some NFC tags in my bag, dead cheap, maybe less than £1 each or something, you can buy them. And then you can program them with your smartphone that's got NFC. You can put some basic information in there. You can even put a Wi-Fi profile and credentials in there. So you tap it on the back. I'm going to use QR code on this in a moment. You tap it on the back and off you go. Big catch with Fully Managed, if you want to get them in, you've got to reset it. There's similarities here between Autopilot and Fully Managed, similar. Okay, concepts are very similar. iOS, DEP or Apple Business Manager, similar again. Okay, in here, what we do is generate a QR code, and what we do is scan that QR code. So I'm not going to show that for too long, because that kind of is super secret for my organization. Be fine. Sort of my lab. So what I'm going to try and do, if I can get this thing to light up. Does anyone want to be my Fully Managed demo person? This takes a little bit longer to do. Let's get rid of this and get rid of this. No one's jumping, are they? See, gadgets. Yeah, live view. Nobody? Yes, go for it, Andrew. Now, this is going to be a little bit tricky to do, I'll be honest. So I'll move this over here, get rid of this. So what we do with an Android device, it could be a phone or a tablet, you need version 7 up to do this. For some caveated reasons, you're better with 8 and up to do this. When you're at the start screen of the phone, this has been factory reset from new. There's no way of getting out of that. So if you're going to migrate from something else to this, you need to make sure you've captured data, people's cat photos, children photos, dating apps, and all the rest of it. You laugh, but that's a big issue, it seems. Okay? So what we do is we take the phone and we tap 5 times on the screen. So if you want to give it 5 taps in the white space, and you get a super secret menu, like a Sega Mega Drive, where you go up, down, left, right, up, down. It's like that. So what we do is we are asked to connect to Wi-Fi, because what we're going to do effectively is pull down a camera, and then we can scan the QR code. All right. Some devices are slightly different. This is already built in. On this particular, this is the Samsung Galaxy S7, I think. Yeah, we will connect to the reactor Wi-Fi. Do you know the password? Open123 exclamation, capital O. It's all right, you can take it away to do that. I think people can manage that one. Yes?
Is there a SIM in that phone?
There's no SIM in that phone, it's just a dummy. But yeah, I mean, it'll prompt for Wi-Fi anyway, even if you do have a SIM, but if you noticed in the list, you have an option to choose SIM. Now, by all means, go for it, but be prepared to take the data hit, okay? It's not a huge amount, but it's hundreds and hundreds of megs. Now, times that by 1,000 devices, you might notice a little bit of a pinch in your pocket by the end of the month. Are we on? So what we should do now is if we hit next, accept all the user license, scroll down to the bottom, you'll see you can accept all at once on this. Now, because this is Android, there's slightly different flavors and slightly different implementations, but it's much of a muchness in this respect. Just push that up a bit. Doing well so far. So it's all working. This did work when I tested it earlier. Yeah, go for it.
Have you, with the fully managed Android, found a way of being able to restore a previous backup from an Android device as part of the enrollment process?
Not as part of the enrollment process. Afterwards, yeah. If you allow basically things like Gmail, Google account backup, things like that, then yeah, I've seen that.
So you can so after holding the device, you can then restore the device from a previous backup?
Do you mean the data or the whole device?
But the whole device, so you've got all of the apps which were previously onboarded
Okay.
that can be installed and the
No,
user data and stuff.
I haven't been through that scenario, but then that previous wouldn't then be fully managed, so you're kind of just going back to where you were. So no, I'm not sure that one would give you what you were expecting. Sorry, do you want to sign in with this one? So it's part of the enrollment process. Do you want to chat after, so we understand it properly? Because this does take maybe 10 minutes or so. So what Andy's just doing is signing in with the user credentials. Yeah, see you, Jerry. Let's say bye to Jerry, everyone. Bye, Jerry. Thanks, Jerry. So we're getting there. Now, what I found when I've showed this to customers and they've been through the motions with this one is they're not sure whether your average user can actually do this on their own. So the kind of mid-solution that we've come to is having floor walkers or something like that, or have an appointment schedule where people come in and bring the device and then you just kind of sit with them. Now, I think Andrew's struggling a little here. Have we got it? It would help if I had a massive tablet. That would probably help things a lot. Let's go back a sec. Go back. Let's just see what's happening. So what this should be doing, I'm going to skip that. See, live demos are not a good thing. Oh, it didn't work. It didn't work. Let's just go back. There we go. I don't know if you got that as well. I think it might be because you accidentally hit the start button because I didn't tell you properly. So I did 5 taps on the screen, gets the QR code set up, checks for updates, installs a QR reader. Now at this point, I get my super secret QR code on screen. Yeah, I'll scan that for you. So all I'm doing is hitting the QR code. See that there? Agree the license. This is fun, isn't it, for a Monday afternoon? I've no idea what I'm doing for time. Any idea, Rob? I've got one more after this. So what it's doing is basically contacting through the QR code. That's got basically a URL behind it that makes you then go to the automatic enrollment for Intune, hooks you into there, finds the policy 5 minutes. Okay, might be a little over because this takes about 10. See, it's pinned the screen, and what this basically do, it takes you into a kind of out-of-box experience that you're familiar with from Windows, probably, and then you've just got to work your way through the steps. Now, whilst Andy's going through this, I want to see if he can hit this, and if he doesn't matter. That's part of the fun, yeah? If you do these, when you set the policy, you can deploy it to devices, or you can deploy it to users, okay? It makes a difference, just be aware of that. So the policy I've done on here is applied to a user. So as this initializes and pulls the policy down, yeah, go for it. If you can follow that. as much as you can, that will be appreciated. So we're going to sign in. See, this has hooked us into Intune now, so we're being asked to authenticate. So obviously the user's got a license and everything else that it needs and a policy. Because the policy is applied to the user, what we'll find in a moment when he's authenticated is you will be presented with a steps guide, okay, which we're on the slides that I showed you on the right-hand side, as you can see. So you need to work your way through, and you need to apply a PIN or a password, and you need to maybe encrypt the device, and you need to maybe do this, that, and the other. And it could be 4 or 5 steps. And sometimes your average user can't really do that one. But you're getting the policies from scratch, right from day one, okay? From the very minute before you can get onto the phone, your policies are there. So there's an advantage. If you do it to the device, what you can do is you can create something like a dynamic group query based on that enrollment profile. So the QR code, you can do something like that. Create a group. So anything that's come in as Android Enterprise, apply these policies. So you still go through exactly the same process, but then you land on the home screen of the phone, and the policies have not come down yet. Sound familiar? Yeah? Sound like autopilot is and was, depending on how you do it. Same kind of process. So depending on what you want, you can do it that way too. So they can get to the device quicker, the policies will start to come down, the apps will start to come down. And obviously once they come down, you'll be prompted to set a PIN, password, or whatever. Okay? Cheers. How are we getting on? Takes a little while, right? You're getting that. I guess it's not the most fun experience, a little tedious. So whilst it's doing that, as I say, it will pull the policy down. Hopefully, if we get to the step, I'll show you what I'm looking at. I'm not going to take you through the whole process because I don't think we have time. There you go. So you see where it's got here. I've just created a very simple requirement to set a screen lock. That's a PIN. And then see if Andy can figure out what to do next. Because that's what it looks like. Oh, he's moved it. There's a camera there for a reason, Andy. Come on. And this is one of the problems that I've had when I've been doing this with various people. Yeah, it's not really that obvious. If you need to put a pin on the device, it'll just give you the whole settings screen. And then you've got to kind of assume your user is going to read the bit that was before to tell you what it needed. Right? So for this one, a little bit of hand-holding wouldn't go amiss, I think. We're getting there? Can you see how complicated this is? It's not intended to show you how complicated it is. It doesn't need to be. Once you've done it a couple of times, it's actually fine. But you've got to be, yeah, go for it. You've got to be mindful, and I've set some mandatory applications, registers the device, signs in. It's not going to ask you again, hopefully. I've got a video of this as well, which I'll put it up on my blog. So if you want to see the whole thing end to end without Andy stealing the phone away from the camera, he's signing into Intune. It's prompted him from his Intune credentials because it's registering the device, or his Azure AD credentials. We're there. We're there. We got there. So what you should see, we're done. Doesn't like staying on screen, that, does it? We'll get there. All right. Whilst that's doing its thing, you can see exactly what it's doing. I'll not show you the full thing all over again for dedicated, but I'll just tell you about that. I'm conscious of time. Any. So it's just the rule that I've got in my Azure AD to choose a department. And as you see now, it should get you to the standard phone home screen. When you go through the dedicated one, which is the next scenario I'm going to talk about in just a moment, guess what? It's the same. Okay? Dedicated is just fully managed, however, it's tying it to a single sort of launcher screen. Okay? Single home screen. And what we do, I can show you in the policy, you deploy a managed home screen to the device, and then you can control what's in there. So you say, just have this app, this app, this app, and that's where your kiosk type things come from. So if you're ordering in McDonald's later on, you've just got one fixed application, yeah, and it's just launching that every single time. Are we in? Thank you, Andy. You see there, if I turn this on again, you see at the bottom, this device is managed by your organisation. So it's basically hooked in now. The trouble is, I've no idea what pin he just set. And I need to reset this again. What was it, Andy? It's all right, it's not secret, it's only here.
It's his bank pin, that's why
It's his bank pin. Ah. We set like a proper password. I just done it wrong now.
If you turn it on too many times, it doesn't use wipe anyway.
It will. We're in. Excellent, thank you. All right. So you get the idea, yeah? So you get all the usual apps. You can see it's just got my corporate applications, so I'm just mandating what's on there. If a user wants to go and get extra apps, I've said in this case, they're just getting the apps that I'm going to push down to them. So you get like an app store like you might in Software Center, in Config Manager, something like that. Okay? You don't have to do it that way. You can still let them do their own Play Store if you want. So that's what that looks like. What I'm going to do, in the interest of time, I'll just talk you through the other one because I'm going to go over my time otherwise. I'll reset that one a little bit later. Kind of makes sense. A little bit long-winded, I know. That's kind of the point, to get it across to you. There's a subtle difference, so depending on how you want to manage your devices, let the user do it, get IT involvement. It's a kind of, which is going to be best. So the other one is dedicated device management. I'll not show you, but I can show you the policy. Everything there, basically things like barcode scanners, usual vending type scenarios or anything like that. And what we do, I'll just show you a little bit of policy at the back end. To get those in, you'll see we have this dedicated device enrollment section. And guess what? You can create different ones. So I created one just for WMUG, and it gives me a token. If I show the token, QR again, so I can use that. I can also use the QR code, the NFC again, and just tap it on the back, assuming the device will support that. So similar sort of thing. There's not really anything to set in there other than a name, and that's important. Because when you set these up, if I come back here and find a group, I've created a dynamic group, dedicated, that one. And look here. I used the wrong name. That's what happened. That's my previous demo. Oh well, good job I'm not showing it. Yeah, what we're doing is basically creating a dynamic group to say anyone that came in through this enrollment profile, come here into this group, and then you take your policy and you apply it to that group. Okay? Because there's no user interaction in terms of credentials and things like that, this is device-based. There isn't a user on there as such. Okay? So that's why you generate this machine or device-based group. Okay? Now, little thing on licensing, it's a device-based licensing, unless these have changed, of course, every single user that uses it has their own license. So in reality, it's a device-based license, just so you're clear on that one. And what we do, if I take you back here, we create a configuration profile called dedicated. Into the properties of that, you'll see you've got a section in here, dedicated devices, and you can configure what you want. So you can add in the managed home screen, Microsoft Edge, Trainline, calculator, whatever you want. Yeah. So if you've got OEM apps on there that is custom to Samsung or Zebra or whatever, you can add those in as you see fit. A few little options there, a little breakout pin. I'd love to show you that one, but I knew it was going to be a squeeze on time anyway. Custom background, things like that. Allow people to use Wi-Fi, don't. So I worked with a customer recently on this, a council, who were trying to give these to like electricians, plumbers, tradespeople that were going out and about doing jobs, and they just had to check in certain job things. Okay, so that they'd have a dedicated device for that. They were actually putting Outlook, which kind of defies the point in my mind, but they were putting Outlook on there as well, so you can tie that user with it. So that's that one. Managed home screen. I'll just very quickly show you that one. because you've got this managed home screen, you can control what's on it. So we had some basic settings there. What we can do is create an application configuration policy. Go in here, and then you can see you can add various bits of settings. Okay? So if you want to show Wi-Fi, show torch, show all these kind of things, you can configure those. And equally, you can use JSON if you want to get a bit more granular. Okay? I think we all know what a kiosk device looks like, but the idea is that you put the managed home screen on there and you can manage that. You don't actually have to use the managed home screen. You can use something else if you want, make it look and feel as you like. But effectively, it's still a fully managed device. The only difference is there's no user tied to it. So if you're doing any app targeting by a user, any policy targeting by a user, it's not going to work in that scenario. Okay? So just be clear on that one. Last one, it's just a quick mention. There's also something called OEM config in here, and I'm conscious if you don't know Android, it's going to mean absolutely nothing to you. Because Android, unlike iOS, there's kind of different flavors, different vendors have got this, and they all look a little bit different. Because Google didn't really have a good story around enterprise management, you'll find that certain manufacturers started making their own solutions to this. So you might have heard of Knox, Samsung Knox. That's an example. So that's a way of customizing maybe the Samsung bits and pieces that standard Android doesn't have. Yeah, they don't really have that situation or scenario in iOS or Apple, because Apple own and rule the whole thing. That's a perfect world, I guess, in device management, but we don't live in that one. So what they've added in is this OEM config support. So basically, if you add the relevant app that can do the support, you can see in that screenshot, I'll not show you it, but I've got it in there if you want to look afterwards. You can then configure the more granular details. Certainly with Knox, you need a license for some of those things, but that's how your McDonald's of the world, sound like I go to McDonald's a lot, don't I? I keep saying McDonald's. Maybe I'm thinking forward. Yeah, that's how people like that get some really quite granular things on their devices. So they use this enhanced OEM support. But I know there's quite a few in there. There's Zebra, which is the example. As I say, mostly for warehousing, scanning, all that kind of thing. Make sense? If you want to see that, I'm way out of time. I'll show you that separately if you like. But that's it. That's me. Thank you.